I'm gonna try to get through this quick because looking at yourself on camera is never something that human beings were supposed to do. And I know that because I'm doing it right now and it does not make me feel good. So we're gonna speed through this. What I have for you today is kind of a little bit of maybe a manic episode, potentially. But I got some shit that I want to say, mostly to myself. But sometimes when people have said things to themselves, to me, or when I was around, some of those things have helped me. You learn things in passing sometimes, and I'm not here to teach nobody nothing. But you never know, right? So if I'm gonna have this conversation with myself, I may as well have it here so I don't feel as crazy as I should while I'm having. So without further ado, we'll just get started. So lately, I've been sort of coming back around to this idea that I tried to abandon a long time ago. And that idea is that I'm a writer. Now, just saying that kind of made me want to cringe. And I think you know what I mean, right? Because calling yourself a writer without having published a New York Times bestseller these days just kind of feels like gauche. I do have a script. It's not complete. So I'm gonna ask y'all to bear with me. But calling yourself a writer without having published a New York Times bestseller these days just feels weird. And in this era of self-determination and mass media bleeding into every aspect of our lives, it kind of like everybody and their mothers are already a published author. Overnight success. Or they're a successful whatever it may be, whatever field you're interested in. If you're using social media, you're getting the impression that everybody is successful at the thing you want to be successful at, except for you. And I think that with most of our time spent on these social media platforms, this one is too, don't get it misunderstood. With most of our time spent on various social media platforms where people are incentivized to flex or fake it until they make it, and the content you see is curated by algorithms that crave your engagement and do not care whether it's active or passive, it can kind of be easy to undervalue oneself or one's achievements in comparison to the people that you're seeing, right? So for me, or for example, when Jiran Zhao or Daniel Green are on your timeline day in and day out, your Wattpad stories or the stuff you write in Pages or the notebook that you keep under your bed that's full of the crazy dreams that you have every night, all those things kind of start to feel like they're worth less to you than they were when you penned them. When you're seeing all this stuff all the time, when you're being sold everyone else's success all the time, you start to feel like a failure. And I think you start to feel like a failure because the successes that were being shown, the thing that they all kind of have in common, regardless of what field it is the idea that they're making money, right? Their name's out there, you know about their stuff, but it comes back to the money, right? And it's just like, when did we all unanimously agree to let monetary profit be the metric by which artistic expression is valued, right? And I know the answer to that question. We never decided that. I'm just kind of mad and tripping, and that's a conversation for another day. No theory today. I digress. Art only matters because we're inspired to create it, right? So if words on a page are the medium that I've been so compelled to choose all these years, then it makes sense that as long as I'm still doing it, I am a writer. But lately, I have not felt like one. And I think that's because for the past 5 or so years, I've been building something of a portfolio for copywriting and during my time in marketing. And while it is something I enjoy to a degree, that kind of writing has never meant anything to me, or it's never meant more to me than it has to my employers, right? Because the writing that I'm into is, in my opinion, a little sexy, right? I like cyberpunk stories about love and loss, far-reaching fantasy sagas with strong characters and sly politics, tightly tuned tales about intrigue or espionage. And I didn't realize that alliteration when I typed it, but I realize it now, and it's egregious, and I apologize. But these are the kind of stories I live for. You know, this is the kind of stuff I love. And lately, my writing to reading ratio has kind of been leaning toward the pretty alarming side of just like pure consumption. And so that's been something I've been trying to change. And for a while, the idea of putting words to paper or screen was kind of terrifying, mostly because the last time I really let myself do that, let myself go all out without any serious self-talk or any real guidelines, I ended up writing 80,000 words of what seemed to me to kind of be complete gibberish. And it definitely was to some extent. I wasn't writing with much of an outline. I took a long break and I didn't keep good enough notes, which shows in my apparent Game of Thrones season 8 like amnesia with certain characters and events and general wherewithal of where the plane was supposed to land, and instead of a mystical time-sensitive island, right, I chose a destination that to this day I'm still kind of reworking in my brain. Granted, this was only a couple of years ago, right? But still, I often find myself getting distracted from another project and wandering back to the 8th or 9th revised draft of that old novella and making changes before disabusing myself of the impetus altogether. Since then, I've kind of still been writing, mostly short stories, phantoms of video essay scripts, all things that I have enjoyed and loved thoroughly, but all things that I kind of had this understanding of that they would never see the light of day. And that's where Fiverr comes in. And if I'm lucky, you saw exactly what I'm about to talk about right before this video. And I know that's unlikely, but chances are if you're here, you've seen the ad. So let's get to it. So a few nights ago, my girlfriend and I were watching Terrace House on Dailymotion because for some reason, that's just the place that we could find the episodes that we needed to find. And on Dailymotion, we were presented with an ad for Fiverr, which was crazy to me because I feel like I don't really see ads for Fiverr often. And I'm seeing them a lot more now. And granted, some of that has to do with what I'm about to talk about. The other part is just the fact that, ads for Fiverr ramping up, probably a little bit of a recession indicator, but we'll move past that. We'll talk about the C word another day. Anyway, in this ad, the speaker, and mind you, just before I go on, this ad hit me like a truck. Not because of the message, but because it seemed like the volume of my laptop got a software update or something. And all of a sudden, the commercial was 10 times louder than the show was. And I didn't understand how that could make any sense. But anyway, in this ad, the speaker is a author / publication house owner. And she kind of waxes philosophic about Fiverr, right? About her career. About how Fiverr provided tools that she needed to get started, and basically about how you can do the same thing too. At some point in that, when she was saying that stuff, she said something like, besides, you're a writer, or you're only a writer, or something like that. I don't really remember what it was. It could have been either, it could have been neither. At this point, I'm not directly referencing the ad at this point. This is mostly a vibes-based deal. But the speaker said that, and my girlfriend turned to me and gave me this, the pointing meme. She did the thing and goes, "That's you." And for some reason, it was like in that moment, I remembered that I was. And I don't think it was because I was reminded by her, right? I don't really think it was because I was reminded by Fiverr either. But I think it was because for whatever reason, my journey with this stuff has led me to coming to the realization at that very particular moment that I was no longer embarrassed of my own thoughts and lack of desired success, so much so that my words felt like something I needed to keep hidden, or the fact that I was a writer was something I needed to not tell people for fear of being judged for not being successful enough, And I probably didn't realize that on the moment, right? Like, just like Azor Ahai probably didn't stab his wife in the heart with a flaming sword. But a lot of my favorite part of reading is kind of that. And not that as in it's that realization that I had, but it's that moment post-consumption, consumption. That's a crazy word to flub. That moment post-consumption where you get to really ruminate on the book's content in a way that feels different because you're away from the page. You know, by that point, it's not a study, it's a reflection. And it's more vibes based than anything because you're no longer reading the words. You're just sitting with the impressions that were left behind. And I think that's kind of my favorite part of writing too. I don't write because I like telling stories. At least I don't think so. I used to think that, but I think I write as a form of reflection. I write because my brain doesn't really seem to work its best till I'm writing my thoughts. And so, I don't know, I feel like that's a new realization for me, and it's important to me. And so because of that, in the spirit of not being embarrassed anymore, I am dropping the aforementioned novella down in the description of the video below for anybody to read or clown or enjoy if you do. And if someone else would like to do the same, in the comments section down below, you know, drop something that you've written that maybe you have been up to this point too embarrassed to show anybody for reasons that hopefully I just convinced you are not reasons you should still let hold you back. But if you would like to do that, I support that. Kind of the way that I understand this whole thing is this kind of like part of the first step of the process that I'm still finding myself a part of. And because it can be difficult, that must mean that it also can be important. And that means something, I think. And so if it can be important to me, then the hope is that this can be a space where someone other than me can also enjoy what feels like kind of a personal milestone, you know? So yeah, I don't really know what this was. I'm trying to preach to nobody. Not trying to teach nobody, but I thought this should be a shared reflection. And so, yeah, if you enjoyed it, feel free to like or subscribe or whatever floats your buoy. And yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing another one of these or if this video is actually going to be up for longer than 35 minutes. But yeah, if nothing else, since I know a lot of that was pretty ranty, you know, not exactly the most organized, you can tell that I'm a pantser and not a plotter, right? But anyway, don't be so ashamed of yourself. And if you create whatever it is, be proud. Peace.